Yes, rock and or roll. It's a September edition of BloodHorse Monday. His name's Sean. I'm Louie. Thanks for hanging out with us as the open of your horse racing week. Sean, back in the bluegrass, which means you have to sit very close to me on set. How are you?
I know. It's funny. I was thinking about last night when I was leaving Kentucky Downs, I had completely forgotten that I was going to have to account for the time to drive over here to do this. I mean, it's been so long since we've done this together.
You don't have to do that, but I do smell pretty good, so it's probably worth the trip.
Yeah, right? It's worth the trip just for the smell, just for the sights and everything. Exactly.
Yes, very musky.
You don't get that in Saratoga.
It's a very muskless place. That's exactly right. But Sean back in the bluegrass here with us here. On BloodHorse Monday. Really glad to have you back in the state for sure. You were at Kentucky Downs over the weekend. Certainly the big racing though. And by the way, let's set up the show. Larry Collmus going to join us from Del Mar. Just called that Pacific Classic one of the more, I used to say unusual, and then journalism did what he did in the Preakness, and then Fierceness does what he does in the Pacific Classic. Apparently taking a hard left turn into the rail is the way to win a classic race.
I think it's just scared him into focusing, which he sometimes struggles with, but we'll get more into that.
Larry Collmus is up first. Adrian Beaumont from Kentucky Downs will join us. He's based in Newmarket, England, and his job with the International Racing Bureau.
Yep.
Okay, the B is for Bureau. Look at me getting things right. Is to get European runners in races in North America, specifically in the fall, at Kentucky Downs and at the Breeders' Cup. And so he goes through his rationale. Now, we taped on Thursday for that one, so you'll hear some foreshadowing of both this coming weekend's races and the ones that just happened. And you might be thinking, oh, great, you're going to handicap for Saturday. Listen to his rationale as to why those horses should make the trip to Kentucky Downs, and you'll hear why some of them won over the weekend as well.
They had a good weekend.
That's exactly right. So Flatten the Curve stands out, Wimbledon, obviously, in the Derby as well. So there are a couple of horses there that did legitimately exactly what he said. So he's not only got a great eye for who should come over, he's great at predicting the races too. So you'll hear from Adrian in the latter part of the show that way. But hey, let's get into it. I don't even know really, you and I don't have a hard plan on where to start.
Well, I just want to start by saying when we look at the Breeders' Cup Classic coming out of this weekend, I don't think I learned anything that will help me for that with what happened this weekend.
Okay, so here we go. Mind frame, bucking jockey. A couple weeks ago, you had one of those posts that make me cringe a little bit, but I get it. You're like, jockeys, they're built different.
Yes.
They're built different. Was that for Lascano?
That was Luis Rivera Jr.
Rivera, that's right.
When he got knocked off the mountain and was breathing Torpedo Anna at 5:30 the next morning after being in the hospital 12 hours earlier.
Like, Irad's going to ride today. Like, he's riding right now.
No, he said he's going to wait till Kentucky Downs.
Did he finally wait?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So these are, but like his agent yesterday, Steve was like, yeah, he's going to ride him out.
Yeah, he was cleared to ride today, but he's chosen, I guess the way he woke up this morning, he's decided I'm just going to sit today out and I'll wait till Thursday at Kentucky Downs for come back. But glad that Irad was okay after that. That was a scary
That
incident.
is where we should start, is that he's okay. By the way, that White Barrio's got Edgar Zayas hanging off the right side of him, and literally on his buttocks, Irad Ortiz Jr. sitting on him, grabbing onto Edgar, like, what do I do here? And Mind Frame kind of looking at both of them like, you can get out of the way now.
Yeah.
I got places to go.
Well,
oh my gosh. I can't believe, like, I think the most striking photos, I want to be really clear about this. The most striking photos of that moment are Flavien Prat looking back to make sure Irad's okay.
Yeah.
He's on Sierra Leone. He's in $1 million race. And he's checking on his colleague, who, by the way, they're not on the same team. No jockeys on the same team.
Nope.
There is no team. But he's checking on him first. It gives you an idea of what that jockey colony is like.
Exactly, yeah. Anytime that a jockey gets injured, especially out in New York, you always see several of the jockeys running out to go check on them when they're on the track. I saw that several times during the Saratoga meet when I was up there. They're a close-knit group up there. But glad that Irad's okay, glad that Mind Frame is okay, that White Barrio is okay, that everybody there is okay. Since everybody is okay, I think we can now make the joke about how Irad did not want to quit riding White Barrio, apparently, because he did ride him for a couple strikes.
It's a good joke. Man, it's a good joke. It's a good job by you.
He that was one of my first thoughts. It was like, oh, he's still riding White Barrio, even though he was supposed to be off of him in this race. But glad that everybody was okay out of that. I mean, you can't say that did not have any impact on the race because
Everybody
on the inside, Disarm, Highland Falls, Sierra Leone, all ended up being further back than you would have intended because they were all trying to avoid that situation. You had White Abario, obviously. I mean, he had 2 riders for a couple strides there, so he was definitely impacted by that.
Leone's got his jockey not looking at the race, and I'm not picking on Flavien Prat for a second. By the way, I'm not doing that. That was such a bad incident that even Flavien Prat in the $1 million race is like, I'm gonna take a gander. I'm gonna look because I don't know how bad this is, and it's a remarkable. You're right, jockeys built different,
and they are, and but yeah, and the only horse who was not in any way impacted by this at all was the horse that ended up winning, an Antiquarian, because he was outside of everything. So it's like I mean, it was a good run from him. It was a good performance, but when I look at
the distance, by the way,
at the 1.25 miles, but I did not go into the race thinking he was, of the same level of some of those horses, and I can't say it definitively coming out of the race that he is because everybody else was greatly impacted by this. Like if Highland Falls doesn't have to try to avoid that, is he sitting closer? Is he the one that's making that run at the top of the stretch? If White Abario is able to get a clean trip, is he the one that's making that run? Sierra Leone, if he sits closer, does he get there because he ended up being further back? So I can't really make anything out of
so Antiquarian didn't move up the board for you at all.
No, for me personally, and so clip this when he wins the Breeders' Cup Classic in a couple weeks. But but for me, I can't move him up at all because everybody else had something happen during the course of the race, and he's the one that didn't. And in that scenario, he should have been the one to win when that does happen. But I can't put him any higher on my rankings going into the Breeders' Cup, knowing what all these other horses have accomplished in the past and seeing the trips that they got. I can't do that.
Okay, so we're besmirching Antiquarian on this show just to do it.
Now, I do have to say I'm happy to see him getting a top level win here. I mean, he's been a hard trying horse. He's been running in some of these top races. It looks like he's better this year than he's ever been before.
Well, let's talk about the Gold Club. Let's talk about this race. Okay. Because here are the last 5 winners: Antiquarian, Highland Falls, Bright Future, Olympiad, and Max Player. Now, I want to defend Olympiad a little bit because that's Flightline.
Yes.
Okay. And he runs second in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And frankly, I think if there's no Flightline, he wins it.
Yep.
I want to be very clear. I think he does. I think during that year, was that his 4th either grade 2 or grade 1 win that year? He had an absurd.
I know he won the Stephen Foster.
Right. I mean, we're talking about a horse that won the Foster and the Gold Cup in the same year. That's awesome. I mean, that's high level. You'll see it very rarely. Of course, we all forget about that because Flightline in the Pacific Classic, you ever going to see that again in your lifetime? Maybe not, right? I mean, it's that kind of performance. And so we forget about that part with Olympiad. So I want to defend him. But do you get turned on by any of these other winners? Does Bright Future do something for you?
To be fair, this is a much better field than the Jockey Club Gold Cup has had in the last several years. A lot better horses. But again,
why are you putting Antiquarian down there?
Because they were all impacted. Every single one of them. That's the way that I look at that too.
Tonalist did win this race twice, as did Flat Out. Code of Honor, of course.
Back when it was at Belmont.
Back when it was at Belmont. It will return to Belmont, I hope, very soon. Of course, Curlin, a 2-time winner of this race as well.
I think they're going to keep it there because they made that switch before the track went under renovation. Yeah.
Put things back at Belmont. My God, we can have things at Belmont and the world won't end. Okay, I didn't say that on the show. All right, so that race is in the books. And of course, reminder, Antiquarian, he's a bum. Sierra Leone, though, runs second, runs this race. He can win the
where do you think Antiquarian steps up in your rankings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he won a 10-for-1 race. Yes.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you have to win the race that's in front of you.
Yes, and he did, and I don't discount that. But when you're looking at
people putting down Sierra Leone's win when Fierceness did all the work, who cares? Who cares? Yeah. I'm sorry. No, Sierra Leone had to come from way out of it in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year. Antiquarian did the dang jang, man. I disagree. I think he moved up in my book.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't think he wins the Breeders' Cup Classic. I want to be clear, but he did. He absolutely moved up in my book.
Well, if I'm looking at the rankings of the Classic going into it, I don't see the same scenario happening again in that race. And so I see these other horses being able to run the race that they're supposed to run. Now, will they all end up going to the Classic after this? We'll have to wait and see. I don't know what you do with White Abario at this point. Where you look at for him.
I might run him in the Clark here.
That would be a good spot.
I might run him in the Clark.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Maybe run.
I think a lot of those. I
think
the Clark could turn out to be one of best rendition of the Clark in a while.
Because
you've got a class that of what, 8, 9 older horses, maybe even 3-year-olds that'll run in that thing that aren't good enough for the Classic.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're still really good
But they're
horses.
still
It's just that's how good the Classic
correct.
is this year. Yeah.
And that's probably what, a $750,000 Clark.
Yeah. And you got Rattle and Roll coming back too.
I mean, you're gonna have dudes in there. So I think I think that race will set up really well once we get there. We're under 60 days to the Breeders' Cup, by the way, 59 days out today. Okay, so that's why we're talking about this so much, in case you're wondering at home. Again, I'm not at all sure how IRAD's okay, but here we are at Kentucky Downs. AG Bullet gets the job done. She's an interesting one, obviously, because she beats the boys up at Saratoga, goes to Kentucky Downs, wins again. We haven't had a Kentucky Downs shipper win on the turf at the Breeders' Cup in California ever. Could she break that chain?
Well, we're getting a lot better horses at Kentucky Downs now than
okay.
ever
So
before.
I think this is an interesting conversation. So
she almost won that race last year too.
We did have a 99-1 plus winner yesterday at Kentucky Downs, but does it feel like we're getting a little chalky, or like we've either? And I think there are a lot of things at play here, by the way, with Kentucky Downs. First is we're getting used to it.
Yes.
Right. It's like at Turfway when they got the new Topeka course, it took people a little while to figure that out.
People know how to handicap it now.
The second part is, you're right, the quality of horse going there is much better than it used to be. I mean, no offense, like Saffie Joseph last year brought in a $16,000 claimer and won an allowance race or something.
Yeah.
That ain't happening again. Can I suggest something else?
Yeah.
They installed an irrigation system. You were just down there. Isn't that the greenest that that place has ever looked?
And I heard several people talking about that throughout the weekend too, that this is the best that it's looked. And especially like you get to the end of the year, sometimes the last 2 years I've been there, and it almost looks like a dirt track by the end of the 7
and so
days.
Not to put down at all anyone who's ever won there, or the prices people used to get, or whatever. What if an irrigation system just makes that place more consistent?
Yeah.
Makes it more like a normal class, normal track plays. And so normal track plays. And so in my mind, I actually think Kentucky Downs is moving more toward the middle than it has been because of those factors. You're getting, like you said, super high level horses. We had the Flying Dutchman folks on, and they're talking about how this is the centerpiece of their year,
or BBN
racing, excuse me. The BBN racing guys on to talk about how
they picked up 2 winners this weekend. Too,
boom, there it is. So by the way, they're pointing for this. And if you could figure out which groups, I talked to Rusty Arnold on the Kentucky Racing Spotlight last week. He was pointing for this. We haven't even seen Kilwin yet. And he's picked off a couple of races, right? So this is, you're watching 2 repeat winners from previous years. But at the same time, I think because of the irrigation system, and I'm not putting it down at all, I think it's the right move. It's making it play more like a normal, what we would consider to be a normal track.
Yes. And AG Bullet, to your point this weekend, she's just phenomenal, especially coming off of her win against the boys in the Jaipur. And then she just broke out of the gate, and there was never a chance for competition here.
She's really good.
And it really seems like she loves that distance. She's 5 for 5. I believe that was 6.5, right?
Yes.
But she's 5 for 5 at that distance now. And so I mean, it'll be shorter distance, I believe, with the Breeders' Cup.
Actually, I think he went 6.
Did she go 6?
I think it's 6 now for that race.
I just remember that it was 5 for 5, whatever distance it ended up
Oh,
being.
okay. Then maybe it was 6.5. She'll go 5 at Del Mar. You're totally correct.
Yeah, so she'll go a little shorter at Del Mar, and now I have to.
Now you're triple checking on your boy.
I know.
How about that?
So it was 6.5. I was right. So she'll have to go shorter.
So for the last time, I'm Louie
Rabaut.
He's Sean Collins. He's taking over the show. Good night. No, so 6.5. Yeah, I mean, it is, to me, that plays more like 7.5.
Yes.
By the time you do all the work. Yeah. But no, she strikes me as one that's going to be a player. I also thought that about Cogburn last year.
Yeah.
And,
well, last year we didn't talk about her coming out of this win, and she ran 3rd in the turf sprint, and she only lost
that's
by
why,
like a head or a neck.
And that was to one of the very, very fine European sprinters in that as well. And so to me, I think she sets up pretty well for this, and I'm hopeful that we'll break that streak. I think it's more of a fluke than anything else, Sean, that hasn't happened yet. Like Cogburn just
Cogburn just.
And we could ask Larry about this. He just stopped. He just stopped, right? I mean, he had the lead. He was rolling. I think he went 20-8, 20-4.
Yeah, he just hit the wall.
He hit a wall. That's right. And so, but it is its own weird thing that we haven't had that transition from winning at Kentucky Downs to winning in the Breeders' Cup in California for whatever reason. But hopefully overcome that for sure. A man who will be there and has been called the races out in California at Del Mar. Larry Collmus joins us here on the program. So glad he was able to carve out some time today. From morning into afternoon, Larry. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Almost afternoon. We got 3 minutes.
That's right.
Here on the West Coast. But it's been a fun weekend out here for sure. Looking forward to the action today as well.
Yeah, no, that's right. Racing out there at Del Mar, of course, on Labor Day Monday. I have always wanted to ask, does Del Mar put the weather report at the top of the screen just to mess with us in the Midwest?
I don't even know why they bother. It's the same every day. You know, we actually the other day, I was looked around and I was asking people, what is this stuff falling from the sky? It was called rain, apparently, and it lasted like 10 minutes. But yeah, I mean, the weather here is ridiculous. It truly is.
Well, we'll be with you in about 59 days, Larry, as we count down to Breeders' Cup 2025.
One thing to remember, though, before I forget, if you're coming to the Breeders' Cup, okay, and you have seats in the grandstand, do dress warm. Because
that's real.
The sun sets behind the building.
Yes.
You'll be in the shade, and it will get chilly.
Yes.
Keep that in mind. It'll feel like it's nice, like 50s, 60s type thing.
Walk into the paddock, it'll be 80, and then you walk to your seat, and it's 50. They're 100 feet apart. It's amazing. Actually.
It's amazing. It's true.
Better have some good heat for you up there in the announcer's booth.
We do have heat. We've used the AC a little bit this week because it's a little more humid than normal, but for the most part, just windows open and we're all good.
Poor Larry Collmus having to deal with a little humidity out there. He's doing all right. Larry Collmus with us here on BloodHorse Monday. You saw one of those Breeders' Cup qualifiers yesterday in Fierceness. When's the last time you called a race where a horse took a hard left turn and then won over 10 furlongs?
I've seen Bayern.
Good call. That's a good one.
I just came to mind. Yeah, but when he white, I remember in that race, I ended the call with finishes first in the Breeders' Cup Classic because I thought he was going to get DQ'd, but he didn't. So, it wasn't really that similar because there were no horses inside of Fierceness, luckily, when he did it. So that was wild. My eyes were on him and Journalism coming out of the gate, and I was like, whoa, what is going on here? And then Journalism's last. I knew he wouldn't be near the front, but I didn't think he'd be that far back. And then all of a sudden he caught up. It was crazy race, but fun, man. Fierceness is so good right now.
What goes through your mind in that like split second where you see him duck left and you have to figure out whether the rider is going to come off or not and what you're going to say if that happens? Just what flashes in your mind for that quick moment?
It's spur of the moment. You know, you just have to say what you see. You know, that's all. And obviously John Velasquez, being John Velasquez, he was able to take control quick. And everything was fine, but it was a little scary there for a second, for sure. But all worked out.
Track announcer Larry Collmus out there at Del Mar with us here on BloodHorse Monday. You get to call a Pacific Classic with a couple of serious contenders in it in Journalism and Fierceness. One of the things Sean and I have been really celebrating on this show is, hey, you call that Pacific Classic, the next day we've got a bunch of great horses in the Gold Cup as well. That Classic division being as good as it is, Larry, right now. How much are you enjoying it?
Oh, it's got. I mean, just keep them together. Make sure that everybody's good, and we're going to have a barn burner. It is just going to be unbelievable. And don't forget, Forever Young's coming. I mean, I think he's coming too. I mean, it's going to be absurd, the Breeders' Cup Classic this year, and I just have to control myself, not get. I've been accused of getting too excited sometimes. So hopefully we'll try to keep it down. But that is going to be unbelievable.
Well, you can't help but be excited for a race like that, but everybody was excited for this race this past weekend, the Pacific Classic. What was the atmosphere like at Del Mar, watching Journalism and Fierceness get prepared?
It was great. I mean, this place was and it wasn't a huge crowd, but it was good, and I think everybody was excited, to have that matchup. It lost a touch of luster when Nisos had to scratch earlier in the day. We were looking forward to that threesome, but we ended up still with a great horse race, and it was just a terrific day. Not only that race, but we had Gold Phoenix winning the Del Mar Handicap for the 4th year in a row. Who does that? That was incredible. The Calbred Almond Joy winning the stakes race earlier in the day. It was like one after another of terrific races.
You have had, frankly, a fun meet to call, Larry, out there. You replace, you take over for Trevor. And I got to talk to Michael Rona the other day at Kentucky Downs, another place where, of course, you've called races in the past. And just
so glad he's calling there, and I'm not right now.
He's doing a tough track to call.
He's doing a backup job.
It's so hard. I love the place, but it's so hard.
2 miles and a 16th and 300 yards. I mean, that's essentially the same. I mean, I'm sure Michael, whatever, same stuff. But, he talked about Trevor's, sort of legacy in Southern California for sure, taking over for him. It's got to be, was it daunting for you? I shouldn't ask. Was it daunting for you? Was there pressure associated with that? Or was it just, hey, I'm ready for the Del Mar job?
There's always some when you're following a legend. And I've told people this is the second time I've had to do this. I did it with Tom Durkin in New York. So I've got to have a little experience of legend following. Trevor was here for 40 years. And, all of the magical calls that he gave over the years. And luckily for me, I had the opportunity of being here for 5 fall meets. So, the announcer's booth was very familiar to me. The surrounding area, very familiar to me. And, everything like that made it easier. And so I didn't even think about it that much, other than the fact that, a few people, have asked me, like you said, what's it like? I got a cool compliment one day from a fellow, and he says, I just want to let you know, he says, no one is talking about the announcer. And he goes, that's a really good thing. And I'm like, there you go. It's because, the guy that follows Trevor Denman has some pressure on him, and apparently no one's made a big deal out of it. So I guess that's okay by me.
Larry, I grew up with a guy named Ernie Harwell calling Detroit Tiger games. I'm sure many people in Southern California grew up with Vin Scully and that kind of thing. I got to imagine for so many in Southern California, horse racing in their head sounds like Trevor, right?
Sure.
Just because for 40 years they heard that. And so hopefully that'll continue with you, Larry, as you.
There's a sign there when you come in, it says, and away they go. I mean, so it's still, and away they go. So it's still, it's still ingrained in the place,
Oh, good. I hope that never goes away for sure. Day to day, you've got closing day this coming weekend as well. Debutante and, of course, your futurity out there at Del Mar. One to watch for sure as we get closer to the Breeders' Cup and that Friday, of course.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have we're going to go out with a bang, some good 2-year-olds. I mean, Brandt, obviously, I think has been the most exciting 2-year-old out here so far. Bob Baffert is just loaded. He's always loaded. He's got so many good ones, but he's going to run Brandt in there. I was texting my friend David Jerkins, the racing secretary, and he gave me some probables for those races. So Brandt is expected. More Baffert's Desert Gate, Balboa expected for the race. On the filly side, we've got Hamika in there, Lawali for Mark Glatt. It's going to be. They're going to be 2 really good races. I don't know if you saw yesterday, Christofferson was a Baffert first-time starter. He went in 108-4 yesterday, a 2-year-old. So, I mean, he just one after another. They just keep on coming.
Well, when you look at the success Baffert obviously has out there, especially with his young horses. Last year we saw when another trainer gets a pretty good young horse like Journalism and Michael McCarthy, they're able to take it to them. Are there any of those types of horses that maybe we haven't seen yet that you're hearing whispers about that maybe could play a role against these Bafferts?
Yeah, not a whole lot yet. I mean, Journalism was certainly. I remember I called his maiden win here in the fall last year, so he came along late. So I think we'll still. I think this fall meet coming up and at Santa Anita as well. My phone's ringing. Hold on, let me just. Forget it. Let me turn the ringer down.
The busy life of a track announcer.
That's right. He's working today.
I was going to be doing a podcast, and they're still calling me. So whatever.
You're fine, Larry.
Okay, I'll get it later. But anyway, yeah, it's the 2-year-olds. The races will get longer. We're gonna, like I said, with Christofferson. I guess with that was 6 furlongs, so he's probably going to run at Santa Anita at some point, and then Breeders' Cup. So we got some good stuff going on.
Larry, I always love to get the feel from people on the ground in different jurisdictions and circuits and different things about how they're feeling about the sport. And certainly in Kentucky, I think we take for granted, the embarrassment of riches at some of the places around here. What's the mood like at Del Mar this meet? Are people pretty upbeat? Because if you're east of the Rockies, we don't necessarily hear a ton about Southern California racing unless we hear a negative headline about something, unfortunately. I follow the sport, so I see a lot of good things happening in Southern California. What's the mood like at Del Mar?
I think it's hard not to be in a good mood here at Del Mar just because of the whole atmosphere. But yeah, I mean, everybody, obviously you're concerned about, the future, because, obviously Kentucky has had so much success with the historical horse racing machines. And that's something I think that we need here in California. And hopefully that we can get that done. If that happens and we get some help, California is going to explode. It would be,
I agree.
Boom, because there's so much money out here, and it just can't be anything but great if that happens. But for now, we don't have them, so it's tough to match the purses that Kentucky gives away, especially Kentucky Downs, which is obviously out of control.
It's not real,
but, but it's just one of those situations where hopefully, we can get the right political atmosphere, and when that happens, I'd be very happy to be here in California.
Well, we talked about you following up Trevor, and obviously you've called a number of top races, not just across the country, but around the world. Where does the prestige of being the Del Mar track announcer for the summer, where does that rank kind of on the track announcer hierarchy when people are looking at that?
Well, I mean, at this stage of my life and career, I don't even worry about that anymore. It's more of, I mean, I've been so lucky. What haven't I called? The Triple Crown, the Breeders' Cup, Belmont, Saratoga, Gulfstream, Churchill Downs, Monmouth, all these places. So I've done it all on the East Coast. Now I get to have fun out here on the West Coast, call the races at this gorgeous place in perfect weather every day. Great quality racing, and can't really worry about hierarchy anymore.
We know about the weather. We see it on the board every day.
Yes. We'll show it to you again today too.
We'll see it again. Don't worry.
78.
I wonder what it's going to be.
Yeah. It's so difficult to figure out. Well, he's Larry Collmus. He's out there at Del Mar. We'll let you go. But as we are under 60 days to Breeders' Cup, do you let that kind of sneak in? Do you start getting excited yourself?
Oh yeah, I'm going to get excited. So I'm driving back. I don't know why I decided to do it. I drove across the country to come out here. So now I got to drive back to Jersey. I'm actually in the process of buying a place here, and I'm going to move here to the Del Mar area. But yeah, when I get back to Jersey, I'm going to have to start buckling down a little bit and paying a little bit more attention to what's been going on the East Coast. And as we get closer to Breeders' Cup, they're going to send me all the probables and all the silks and all that stuff. I'll be making my flashcards, and we'll be ready for October 31st and November 1st in no time.
Well, you heard it here. He's trading in pizza for tacos. There it is.
Outside of the classic,
Call me again.
Well, we'll let you go on this. Outside the classic, any division you're specifically looking forward to this year?
Good question.
All of them. The Breeders' Cup is so much fun. Every year there's, the classic is great, but there's just so much to look forward to when we get down to it. And I'm definitely, I haven't thought too much about the other races quite yet, but as we get closer, I'm sure we'll find out like what Euros are coming over for the grass races and things like that. And it'll all come together, and it'll just be 2 fantastic days.
Well, good luck with all of your phone calls, and we'll catch up with you in about 59 days. How's that?
Sounds good. We'll see you guys.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
Larry Collmus with us here on BloodHorse Monday. Appreciate him getting up at Del Mar and hanging out with us on the program. So there you go. Man. He's a very big apparently there's what like someone overweight in race 1 they really need to know Larry to know he's +2.
It's almost like they're racing today or something.
What is he working? Feel like doing 2 shows today. All right, well there you go. Larry Collmus. I've never asked you this. I'm a geek for track announcers, and I think in 20 years when I'm hanging it up on BloodHorse Monday, I think we're going to look back at this era and go, holy crap, we had a bunch of great announcers.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're literally going to do that because, I mean, just sort of generally, and I will start southeast and move around the country, okay? But you got Pete Aiello in South Florida. If you can't get pumped up by a Pete Aiello call on race 6 on a Thursday on the Tapeta, you're out of your mind, okay? We got Travis. I almost said Trevor. We got Travis here at Churchill, who is, you don't have to see the race to know exactly what happened. Yeah. He's so accurate.
And behind him, we have Tony Kalo too.
at the two
Yeah.
other CDI tracks here. Okay.
Yep.
We've got Michael Rona calling quarters in LA and then showing up at Kentucky Downs and still being as sharp as ever. Okay.
And making me laugh throughout the entire
For
weekend.
sure. Kurt Becker at Keeneland when we feel like it. Matt Dinnerman, who's one of the young rising stars in our sport at Oakland and at Monmouth. You got Jessica. We got women calling grade ones.
Mhm.
Okay. We got Frank Miramati between, Saratoga and Santa Anita. And
Yeah, both coasts.
both coasts. I think we're going to, okay. We got John Dooley calling races in Indiana.
Yeah.
8 months a year.
Yeah.
That's how good it is right now. I'm just telling you, I think 20 years from now, we're going to look back and go, man, we had a really good. We are. And by the way, someone's going to beat me up on the YouTube page about a track announcer that I left out for sure. Somebody else like Craigie or, one of these other guys who's really good. Like the guys at Assiniboia. How can you not have fun watching them on a Tuesday night?
Exactly.
It's hilarious. It's fantastic. So I don't know. I think we're going to look back. Guys like Larry, I think are part of a class of very exceptional announcers.
Yes.
And I think we're going to look
hopefully that's a sign it's only going to keep getting better and better
I agree.
and better. Yeah.
No, but every time we think we're going to run out of guys, you get a Travis or you get a Matt, right?
Yeah.
There's the next guy, even like a Chris Griffin who calls the races at Aqueduct. I think he's excellent. He's really excellent. And so, I'm, because like Johnny I retires and you're like, who's going to call Aqueduct? And then Chris shows up and he's great.
Yeah.
He's great. And so, I'm largely hopeful. Like Paul Espinosa, Charles. I could go forever. All right, Paul Espinosa, Charlestown's really good too. All right,
I love Charlestown. Yes,
nothing wrong with
Charlestown's
Charlestown.
awesome.
He's fantastic.
He's
Peter a
awesome.
Mountaineer. I mean, like there's just over and over. There's great announcers everywhere. We're super spoiled, but anyways. All right, Matt Hook, shout out at Thistle. All right, so I think that's enough. We need to talk about Adrian Beaumont. Unless you have something else.
Well, we still haven't really delved in. We talked about it a little bit there. We haven't really delved into the Pacific Classic yet.
Okay, so that is a fair point by you. What are they doing with journalism? Am I allowed to just ask it that way on this show? Because here's the deal. Because I've watched that horse in several races, be much closer to the front than he's been the last two.
Yes.
Now, what they did in the Haskell, he could get away with because, God bless him, Gosger is the other horse, okay? And I'm not picking on Gosger, but that's a 3-year-old who's a grade 2 type of horse, okay? We're talking about fierceness.
Yeah.
At Del Mar, where last year he ran like a ridiculous triple digger, like over the top speed figure for sure, okay?
He always
Like,
shows up when he
always
goes
shows up
California.
out in California, okay?
Yeah.
We don't have to do this. Am I crazy to question the tactics here?
No, because I'm questioning them too.
Okay.
Anybody who's watched the show knows what I think of journalism.
A lot. And by the way, the people that watch this show think a lot of him.
Yes.
A lot. Yes.
And how confident I was with him going into this race, and how confident I still am in him coming out of this race.
We talked to Aaron Wellman.
Yeah. And I don't like calling out jockeys, but he was too far back.
So far back.
And it looked like on the far turn, it looked like Umberto thought that he had the race won. And like there's just
had to shake him up and go.
You're just looking at the way that he rode him in the Preakness and the Haskell, how early he got into him to get him to catch up versus how he was coasting on him on the far turn.
Okay.
It seemed like he felt like he could. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it looked like he was. He thought that he was going to be able to do it no matter what. And Fierceness is not that kind of horse. And shout out to Fierceness, who
that's
as I was watching this race live at Kentucky Downs right before I left, I was watching with a couple others, and we all said as soon as he made that little left turn, we're like, oh yep, he's done. Anytime Fierceness sees adversity in his races, he throws in the towel and that's it. And then on top of that, he comes out of that little left-hand turn and he's stuck in traffic and he's behind horses. I was like, he's toast. He's about to run 5th. This was the worst decision ever.
Little touch from John Velasquez
was perfect. And
Fierceness responded perfectly.
That move.
We saw one of the best. Is that? I mean, journalism Preakness probably the run of the year so far. Yes. Fair. Yes. Okay. Is that second?
It might be. Remember John Velasquez when we were in the 2020 Preakness and he was on Authentic.
Okay.
And Robbie Alvarado made that quick move inside of him on Swiss Skydiver. And
by the way, I didn't mention Dave Rodman. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Oh, Dave. Oh no. Dave's not watching this week. I love Dave Rodman. By the way, that 2020 Preakness call is my favorite call of a race ever. Right. Call.
I mean, Robbie Alvarado snuck up inside of Velasquez early, got that position and didn't relinquish it.
Right.
That was all he needed. Velasquez did that same thing here with Fierceness.
He
made that
I agree.
move early. He made the pounce early. In my mind, that was when you see that happen. If you're in the back on journalism, that should have been when you went.
Right.
Is when you saw Fierceness go.
Oh, I agree.
And it was the perfect move. And when Johnny made that move, I was like, again, with just everything that happened at the beginning, I was like, it's too early for him. Everything that's happened, he's going to quit like he usually does when he has adversity, and he didn't.
Right.
So that's also coming out of the Whitney, and then Fierceness doing that. I mean, he's the most confusing horse I've ever watched in my life, probably, because you never know when he's going to throw in the towel. But again, you just see him continue to take steps forward at times where this is a race that he would have quit on in his 2-year-old season, his 3-year-old season, even a race ago in the Whitney, and he didn't this race.
All right, I got a big bone to pick with you then.
Oh, okay.
At the outset of this show, you said you didn't learn anything this weekend.
Well, that's what I didn't. I didn't learn really anything about Fierceness because now I don't know what to expect. When he went
fair enough.
I'm like, is he going to do that again? Is he fine now whenever something happens, or was this just a random one? I think maybe. I think seeing the rail might have scared him into paying attention in this race.
Here's what I'll say about this: how often do we see a horse take some 3-4 races to break their maiden? Good horses, talented young horses, and then they do it, and the light goes on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We see this a lot. What if it happened for Fierceness this weekend?
It might.
That's a real possibility here, frankly.
That's scary if he just figured it out.
But dude,
but he was sitting.
This was when Gunrunner figured it out.
Yeah, he was a champ when he was sitting right behind them, and I was not expecting him to handle the kickback that well.
Right,
and it was rough kickback. I don't know if you saw the pictures that Alex Evers took of journalism the first time down the stretch.
We need to have him on this show.
The dirt was knocking the goggles off of Rispoli the first time down the stretch.
Can we get Alex on the show?
Maybe
okay?
we'll
is
see.
That allowed?
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, Frank,
but yeah, it was amazing. That kickback, and Fierceness took it. I mean, we saw a new version of Fierceness that we had never seen before in this race, and if that version stays here, I mean, unfortunately, we're looking at probably one more start in his career. But I mean, hey, everybody's gonna have their hands full
until Rapoli just decides he wants him to run another year.
I know that'd be nice, especially if he's just now hitting the peak. Mike, please leave him in training. Because
do you imagine him as a 5-year-old?
Well, first of all, just imagine a 2-year-old champion running as a 5-year-old, having just finally figured it out. How good that horse would be next year. So, Mike, if you are listening to this, just keep that in your mind when you're thinking of plans for next year.
I'm a little in love with that. It's good.
I know Coolmore's already bought into Fierceness,
Coolmore.
but you got Sierra Leone.
Yeah, Coolmore's got plenty of money.
Next year. You can wait a year on Fierceness while Sierra Leone wraps up his year this year.
Oh man, what do you are you rooting for an outcome in the Classic? Is there a horse you want to win the Classic? Do you have that right now? I don't have that horse.
I mean,
I like Brooke Smith because he's out of his mind, but other than that, I don't really have a rooting.
This is one of those weird years, obviously I'm such a big journalism fan. I'd love to see him.
Well, I was gonna say, do you want Sovereignty to win?
I would love to see Sovereignty just show that he's steps above everyone. I'd love for just the greatness, just to see the greatness of a single horse aspect. I'd love to see Sovereignty do it, but man, watching Fierceness, watching Sierra Leone, watching those guys for the last 2 years, and they're still showing up every race. I know Sierra Leone didn't win this weekend, but he still showed up
for sure.
Yeah, and
by the way, his jockey spent a third of the front stretch looking back at Irad.
Exactly,
and he still almost won the darn thing.
And so, for them to cap, if this is their last start, for them to cap off their year or their careers with a win in the Breeders' Cup Classic, it's one of those years where they're. And this is the thing that we want is we have horses that have come back and horses that are developing. We want them facing off. This is what we always talk about with the sport needs stars. This is the example of it. When you get to the Breeders' Cup Classic and you don't know who you want to win because there's multiple horses where it would be the perfect cap to their story if they ended up winning this race.
I agree with you. All right. Well, next up, we're going to talk with a man who does some recruiting for Breeders' Cup, but also for Kentucky Downs. His name is Adrian Beaumont. I sat down with him about 5 days ago on Thursday, and talked with him about recruiting international runners to both the Breeders' Cup and Kentucky Downs. What goes into that and all the different moving pieces. Like I said, this is from Thursday, so it is ahead of some of those stakes on Saturday. Had I been able to play this for you on Friday, on BloodHorse Friday, which does not exist, we would have had all of this information, and all of you would have hit the pick six. How about that?
Just like when my Emerald Downs won, where we were talking about all the horses that ended up winning. We seem to have a knack for that.
We'll just come on the show. Eventually it'll work out. But here's Adrian Beaumont with me in the media bunker tower / area at Kentucky Downs. Okay, BloodHorse Monday. We're trackside here, opening day at Kentucky Downs, alongside Adrian Beaumont, who has an unusual role in American racing and something, frankly, Adrian, that could probably only exist at a place like Kentucky Downs. But good morning. How are you? Happy opening day.
Well, welcome to you, Louie. It's great to be here on this gorgeous sunny day here in Franklin, Kentucky. That's at the Kentucky Downs, and I'm really enjoying being here for my second time. I've been to this event, and we had a Nashville Derby winner last year, and I hope to take one home this year.
There you are, yes. And where is home? You keep mentioning home.
Yeah, so I'm based in Newmarket, England.
Okay.
I've been, I'm sort of an international promoter of racing. I've been doing this job for a very long time now. My first international trips were in 1986. I did the Arlington Million back then, and I did my first ever Breeders' Cup, and I'm one of the longest and luckiest people to have a streak going back. I've not missed a Breeders' Cup since '86, even including the COVID year.
Oh, how about that? Okay, you and I have that in common. I did radio at the COVID Breeders' Cup. We dragged some tables out onto the walkway at Keeneland and did radio outside.
I managed to get a bizarrely, from out of my status and stature, I managed to get an elite sportsman's visa that year. So just to get into the country. But so my role really is I recruit all the horses from Europe to come and race here in America for our various race course clients, including Kentucky Downs. And I also look after all the international horses, which includes the American horses when they come to England. So I'm very well used to looking after the likes of Wesley Ward, Kenny McPeak, etc. when they bring horses to Royal Ascot or Newmarket or wherever in Europe.
So when you're stateside here in the U.S. and you watch turf racing as it exists in the United States, what comes to mind immediately?
Well, obviously, we're normally trying to fit the horses to the actual surfaces. So here at Kentucky Downs, we're middle of your summer, so we're probably going to be racing on quite quick ground. So we're looking for quick ground, versatile horses. This track is a brilliant track for British and European horses because it's so unusual compared to most racetracks in America, which are normally just flat and left-handed and boring ovals. This is an uphill, downhill deal. When I'm talking to my trainers about it, I'm twisting their arms to come here. I'm saying, well, think about Epsom, the Tattenham corner of our Derby. That's the sort of configuration we're looking at here with the running style. And one of the great advantages we have here, we have some British jockeys based here, like Frankie Dettori and Ben Curtis, and we're going to be using them this week because I think it's a huge advantage to us.
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw Frankie at breakfast this morning, and he was trying to glean every bit of information he could about, the track itself, as far as the depth of it. With the irrigation system that's been put in place this year, does that change how you are recruiting certain types of horses?
Well,
or is it still more that firm, fast thing in the middle of the summer?
I think it's still the firm, fast thing. What I can say to trainers is they're probably not going to get quite as jarred up as they might have done in previous years, because the irrigation is going to help the horses come out of the races in better order. In fact, we have a horse running this Saturday. I know it's after this show goes to air, but we're going to have a runner in the Gold Cup here, sort of called Flatten the Curve from Germany. And if he runs well, we might back him back up in the Turf Cup on the second weekend at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah, that is something that happens here and nowhere else. It's kind of proof that horses can run back as long as the purse money's there.
Yeah, the money's here. The horses are on side. If he's fitting well, running back in a week is actually normal practice in Europe. We don't bother about that at all. We have some of the biggest meets we have in Europe are 5 days at Ascot and Goodwood, and we would run back Tuesday to Saturday, no problem.
We'll see, for example, Tistastic in the Derby this year was a runner twice last year here within, I think, 9 days. It was something like this last year at Kentucky Downs. So even American horses certainly capable of it.
It's a little boutique meeting. I know this is, not many horses train here at Kentucky Downs. I know they're shipping in mostly from the major training hubs, whether it be Keeneland or Churchill or from maybe the East Coast up in Saratoga or what have you. So it's great. I really enjoyed the experience of coming here, and my horses are based here for a few days and seeing all the others just shipping in. So just to let you know, we had a slight change on our routine this year. We've actually we shipped these horses. They flew in on Thursday, and whether where
did they fly to get to here?
Yeah, so these horses flew from an airport called East Midlands, which is Nottinghamshire in England, and then we flew them into Cincinnati. And then we went from Cincinnati to Louisville, and we did 2 days quarantine at Churchill. That's an obligatory USDA rule, 42 hours in quarantine. So we broke quarantine Monday. This year, instead of coming down here to Kentucky Downs, where we can only train on a turf surface around the exterior of the main track here, we actually kept them at Churchill, and they've been exercising on the dirt track at Churchill each morning. I went and saw them yesterday. They all look in good order, and they're actually vanning as we speak here to the track on Thursday morning. They'll be here Thursday lunchtime, and the plan is we're going to give them a canter around the exterior of the turf tomorrow, Friday, and race Saturday.
What is your impression of that so far? Has it been a good move to be at Churchill like that? You know, for example, those of us who cover the Kentucky Derby every year, that quarantine barn has become, frankly, the Japanese barn, because we'll have a couple of runners from there. You know, the quarantine rules with Japan, of course. But how do you, is that something you think you could replicate moving forward?
I think it's going to be interesting and see how we actually deal with we've got some more horses, a couple more horses coming in next week for the second weekend at Kentucky Downs, of quite how long we leave them at Churchill for. We might decide to bring them here a day earlier. I'll get some feedback on that. One of the horses we've got running this Saturday is a horse called Cardim. He's a very old, established grade 1 type animal sprinter here. He was second in this race last year in what was a very hot turf sprint, and we're gonna run him this year again. Frankie Dettori is taking them out. The connections with him are such, actually they probably stayed at Churchill a day too long, because the issue with him is he's a quirky horse who likes to be on his own. So when he gets here tomorrow, he will train at 6 a.m. He'll train by himself before any of the horses get on the track.
He's one of those. There you are. Talking with Adrian Beaumont. He is director of helping get European horses over here. What's your official title here? Do you have one?
I'm director of International Racing Bureau. But my company's based in Newmarket, England, but we have offices and agents worldwide. And I've worked with the guys here. I mean, I work with Martin Panzer, who's director of racing. I probably worked with him for over 30 years because we launched things like the American Derby, American Oaks together, and worked with him in times of Naira and so forth. And you have a gal here called Jenny Reese, who I've probably known for at least 40 years. So I know Jenny was batting for me to come and get on board, and I worked closely with the likes of Carter Carnegie and Ted Nicholson. We had an interesting thing this year. We took the Kentucky Downs crew. They all came across, the owner Ron Winchell and Ted Nicholson and a few of the other guys. They all came to Royal Ascot this year, and we had a cocktail party for them on the Thursday at Royal Ascot, and we did a bit of recruiting, a bit of arm twisting, handing out brochures, and different to any other.
Effective. I mean, that's a real question, right?
different to any other party we had. We actually brought our own bourbon to it.
Oh,
so
okay.
I mean, you know, we got the Never Say Die sponsoring this week, and
Saturday,
and it's great to be able to put a bit of a Kentucky twist on things.
Flatten the Curve will be in the Gold Cup on Saturday. We're going to run 2 miles and a 16th here on the turf. A horse like that they brought over for that Belmont Festival earlier in June as well. Is this one that they want to have stateside, you think, or because he's already gone back and won in Germany since then?
Well, no, he won a good race called the Oleander, which was a grade 2 back at Baden-Baden, and that qualified him to get into the Belmont Gold Cup, which this year was at Saratoga because while Belmont's being redone. So it was a bit of a disaster, to be truthful, because it was supposed to be a 2-mile race on the turf. They had a little bit of rain in Saratoga, and they took it off the turf and put it on the dirt on a very sloppy track that's totally alien to my horses. So he ran in that race, and it wasn't suited to him at all. So that was a big shame. Anyway, he's gone back. He's won another race in Germany, and this race is absolutely ideal. The money's fantastic, good incentive package, and I'm very much looking forward to his arrival. And he will run really well. I'm not sure what the morning line is going to have on him, but I would rate him definitely a 1-2 chance.
Yeah, he's the favorite here at 8-5. Limited liability will be 2-1. The winner of this race last year, Frankie gets the mount again with him, and so shouldn't be surprising to see the two of them at the top.
He's a substantially better horse than we sent last year for this race. So he is a limited liability. He's a very, very decent horse. We've got a jockey called Thor Hammer Hansen, who is he will be the champion jockey in Germany this year. He's sort of his stats are really, really high. I don't believe I can't remember him riding here before. He did ride at Saratoga, so he knows the score. So I'm expecting a big run from Flatten the Curve.
There you go. Flatten the Curve will be in that 7th race on Saturday. We moved to race 9 though. In the turf sprint itself, we see Kadem back here. Am I saying the name correct?
Yeah, Kadem. Yeah, it's owned by Mrs. Fitri Hay, and you see those colours quite regularly being worn by Wesley Ward runners over here. They have some horses there.
And this is the horse we saw here last year.
Yeah, he's a very quirky horse. This is a horse that we have to bring him down. We're going to saddle him early. We're going to. Last year we had to saddle him on the walking ring outside the saddling stables. He's very hard. He likes being by himself at home. He comes out of a stable in Charlie Hills in Lambourne, in the sort of southwest of London, and he trains by himself every day. He's not a friendly horse with other horses, and he's certainly got some quirks. But he's a character. He's a very, very good horse. He's won well over $2 million, and it's going to be interesting to see how he holds his form at the how old is he now? Is he
9 years old?
9 years old. Can you believe that?
Fantastic.
In some countries, you wouldn't even be allowed to run a 9-year-old.
No, that's
anymore.
exactly right. Yeah, and frankly, his best finish recently has been here.
Yeah, that was a really, really strong race. He's been a little bit disappointing on his 2 starts so far. We've gone from Jamie Spencer home last year to Frankie Dettori. So listen, he's not getting any younger, but I expect him to run a creditable race.
The Derby itself, they're very much trying to promote as one of the, if not the race of the meet down here, and for good reason. Certainly in the United States, we care very deeply about Derby culture. Obviously, in the state of Kentucky, we care very deeply about that as well. And this is a race, look, that you can get a certain type of horse from overseas to come and run in this one. Wimbledon Hawkeye makes the trip. Frankie Dettori gets the mount here for James Owens. What can you tell us about this horse?
So this horse got a very similar profile to last year's winner. So last year's winner, Bellum Justum, ran second in the Gordon Stakes at Goodwood, as this fellow did as well. You'll see he was second to a very, very up and proving horse, a real Breeders' Cup turf type animal in a horse called Merchant, trained by William Haggis. Yeah. So Wimbledon Hawkeye has always been a decent horse. He won as a 2-year-old. He won the Jobmont Royal Lodge as a grade 2, and we then tried to get him to come to the Breeders' Cup, but James Owen decided to run him at home instead in a grade 1 at the Futurity. This year he ran in the Guineas. He ran quite well in the Guineas, but then they regrouped with him. 2 starts ago, he ran the Princess of Wales Stakes, which is a grade 2 against older horses. Yep. Your viewers will be familiar with the winner of that race, El Cadorbeth, the Godolphin horse trained by Charlie Appleby, who went on to win the Sword Dancer. So that is really, really good form against an older horse. Last time out on very, very atrocious ground, we had a lot of rain on the Gordon Stakes day, and he only got beaten nose by this good horse called Merchant. And again, Frankie Joy is going to take the ride. This horse is owned by a very well-known personality in England, Bill and Tim Gredley. Yeah. They're big property developers. They own a lot of land in Newmarket, and Tim himself is a show jumper. And actually, the way this worked was, I just happened to I saw James after he ran in the Gordon Stakes at Goodwood, and persuaded him. He said, "We just got to get the owner on side." And luckily, I went to the Royal Dublin Horse Show this year, and I saw Tim there, and had a chat to him about the race, explained about the purses and the deal and the track and everything else, and shook hands on the deal, and here he is now. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing Wimbledon Hawkeye here. I went and saw him train at Churchill yesterday. He's training really well. Great. He looks great. He's very relaxed for a colt. He's not psyched out at all. He's by a horse called Kamiko that was a very good miler over here and has bred some really, really good horses. I think it's his second crop. I just think he stays well. Most of his form is at 1.5 miles, and I do think the way this race is run, you've got to be 1.5 miles there. Where from our position here in the racetrack, Louie, I can see that the last furlong here is a gradual incline, which is another different characteristic to an American track. Very much more familiar with what we're used to at the likes of Ascot. Sure. So I do think the uphill climb is going to suit this horse.
I think he'll be the favorite on Saturday. Is he a worthy favorite in this field?
Well, I'm really worried about one of the other horses, Test Score. I think Test Score is a very, very useful horse trained by Graham Motion.
I agree. I think he's
a very smart horse. He might be the value bet if we overbet Wimbledon Hawkeye. Test Score might be the one, owned by Ammerman Racing. His form is really good. In his last 3 starts, he's running 3 grade 1s. He won the Belmont Derby, which is a really, really good race. I had a runner in that race called Luther, who finished 3rd that day. He came back and won the Hall of Fame at Saratoga, and is now going for a $10 million 3-year-old race in Sydney called the Golden Eagle. That is how small our world is now, that I can have horses going from Newmarket to race at Saratoga to going to race in Sydney for $10 million. But going back to Test Score, he then ran up in the Saratoga Derby, and he finished 3rd that day to World Beater and a French horse that I sent over called Duelier. I think that form is solid, Group 1 form. he seems to the triple should be ideal. My only concern would be with test score is that my horse Wimbledon Hawkeye might just outstay him in the last 100 meters.
Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, and we see 4 runners from this year's Kentucky Derby off the dirt, obviously moving to the turf. Some of these horses before Final Gambit, etc., are synthetic horses, turf horses, that kind of thing. More than just the handicapping side. How happy are you to see this many Kentucky Derby
I'm intrigued.
runners?
I'm intrigued by it. There's a horse here that I'm very familiar with called Hill Road.
Okay, another good horse. Yes.
So Hill Road last year was trained by Adrian Murray in Ireland, and I helped come over with him to race at the Breeders' Cup.
Okay.
And he's a quality road horse, and we very much thought he's owned by Ammo, and Kia Jorbashian, who owns Ammo, thought he was worth a shot in the juvenile on the dirt, which is an unusual route for us to take with our 2-year-olds. And he ran very, very creditably.
Say all he did was hit the board, right?
He ran really creditably, and if you look at the fractions, you'll see no one was running on better than him over a mile and a 16th. He was flying at the finish there. So very, very good run. Obviously, they've now left him over with Chad Brown, and that's I'm not saying that's an upgrade, but it's certainly no issue to go to Chad Brown's barn. Right. I am just slightly intrigued by this horse as to. They've left him with Chad. He's been running in dirt races. He's running the Belmont. He ran placed in the Jim Dirt Dandy last time. I'm intrigued why they're running him back on turf. You thought if he was going to be a turf horse, they'd have left him in Europe. I thought he was going to be here running a dirt campaign. Maybe just the way that he's training. That maybe Chad. I presume Chad has tried him on the turf. I've not gone back through his works. Has he done a work? Yeah, he had
a bullet. In fact, at Saratoga not too long
ago. He did a work on my birthday, August 17. So a bullet over 5 on the turf.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's obviously showing Chad enough to suggest that he's got a shot. So I mean,
we see these quality roads once in a while turn up just fine on the turf for sure.
They do. Yeah. I had a very nice quality road last year. In Newmarket, there was winning a mile and a quarter races on the turf. Yeah. Yep. I'm intrigued by this race. So I really fancy my English horse. I think Wimbledon Hawkeye will win. Test score will push him to the end. I'm just hoping that Frankie can just squeeze a little bit more out of him. But I'm very good friends with Graham and Anita Motion, and if they won, I'll be pleased for them too.
Adrian Beaumont with us. 2 more running this weekend. What's the story with Cheshire Dancer? She'll be in the ladies' turf that will be run. It's the last of the graded races on Saturday.
Yeah, it's a huge purse again for a mile filly. We were slightly concerned whether we were going to get a run for this race. This race is not an invitational. Right. It's a nominational race, and they were going to get in on grade status. Luckily, this filly is a grade 3 winner, which gave her a head start over some of the more ordinary horses. But in fact, this race, unusually for Kentucky Downs, hasn't filled. So she's got a run. I was with Hugo Palmer last week at York Race Course, and we were sweating every day as to whether she was going to get a run. And we actually shipped here with our fingers crossed, just thinking, are we going to get in? But as I say, she won a grade 3 at Ascot last time, the Valiant Stakes, ridden by a brilliant young rider called Billy Knockdown, who's our most foremost young rider. He's staying at home this time, so again we have got Frankie, and that's not an issue at all. We love having Frankie over here. So that was her best run. She had been running in what we call handicaps. Our handicaps are with huge weight differentials, but the Valiant was a grade 3 last time at Ascot, and it was really a good run. And Hugo is an excellent trainer who obviously thinks this is the right spot for her.
This is a horse that hasn't run going left-handed, at least that I can see on this form. Any concern with some of these Euros coming over going left-handed, or is this kind of old bag for them once in a while, going right-handed, going left-handed, going straight line?
Yeah, no. She 2 starts ago, she did run at Pontefract, which is a left-handed course, and she has run at Ayr and so forth. So she has run left-handed, but her form, as you say, her best form is at Ascot, which is a right-handed track. But our horses are very versatile. We train over all sorts of ground, uphill, downhill. So yeah, we're used to that. We've got also an interesting runner shipped in from Germany. So we've got 2 German runners besides Flan the Curve. We've got Lady Ilza, and Lady Ilza is trained by Andreas Vola. She's a British bred filly, bred by one of my colleagues in Lulu Winter. She works for us. She helps out at weekends and out in my office, and she's absolutely thrilled with this Lady Ilza. So she bred quite cheaply by Territories, was sent out to did all its early racing bizarrely in Warsaw in Poland, which is quite kind of crazy, and has now ended up in Germany, and ran in the prep race for the German Guineas. I was a bit of an outsider, a 10-1 shot when she ran the German 1,000 Guineas, grade 2, but she won quite comprehensively. She then came to the Falmouth Stakes at Newmarket, and I was helping look after this team. The Falmouth is a Group 1 race for fillies and mares, so it's fillies but older horses, so she was taking on olders, and she got held there by Cinderella's Dream, January, and that good mare Crimson Advocate, who'd won a grade 2 at Royal Ascot.
I thought she showed herself well against older horses.
This is a very, very strong race, and I was with the team, and they said to me, Andreas Vola said to me, where can we go next? And I said, well, Kentucky Downs with the obvious spot, because it's keeping it to a mile. That's another configuration quirk about this track. Very few races in America are run at a mile on the turf because of the being so proximity to the bend. So it's a perfect spot to run her here.
Well, very good. Well, Adrian, Breeders' Cup obviously in a couple of months as well. We haven't had a winner come out of a race here and go win a Breeders' Cup race, for example, like in California, something like that. Do you think that's a matter of time, or do you think that actually has to do with, just how the course is configured, just different than the flat racing you mentioned earlier?
No, I mean, I think, if a horse was to win here, if Wimbledon Hawkeye was to win here, I would be talking to Tim and James Owen about possibly running in the Breeders' Cup turf.
Okay.
I mean, obviously he'd had to step up again because El Cadorbe beat him in the Sword Dancer. Of course, he'll get weight for age. But yeah, no, I'd be hoping that. James Owen himself is a very interesting character. He was a jumps jockey and then a jumps trainer. And he started out training jumps horses and Arabian breds. And he's only just in the last 2 seasons gone into flat horses, been unbelievably successful. And actually, we think James is probably most up and coming of the young brigade. And this will be his first runner in America. Well, so he's going to come in with Tim. They're arriving this evening into Nashville. We're having a cocktail party tomorrow night for them downtown, and we're going to be here Saturday. And I'm really looking forward to him seeing. This will be home from Tim. He's used to running on jumps tracks, the similar configuration,
very similar configuration,
and with no grandstand. We're used to that at home. So I'm really looking forward to the weekend, and looking forward to next weekend where we've got runners in the Mint Millions. Looking forward to seeing Cairo, who I helped ship over to Colonial Downs for the On to Million. He's been lurking around Keeneland, ticking over until he comes down here. He'll be shipping in for Alice Haynes. Ben Curtis is booked to ride, so we'll have him in the Mint Millions, taking on a very nice horse called Port Linus, trained by another young up and comer called Edward Bethel, who trains up in the north of England. So awesome. We've got some interesting runners for next weekend. Juddmonte is sending over a filly for the Music City as well, trained by Rafe Beckett, called Tabity. So so we've got 5 runners from here from Europe this weekend and 3 next weekend.
How many are coming this year? How many do you hope in 26?
I think we've got 8 total, and I'd be hoping for double figures. Probably I'd be looking for maybe a best bet a dozen. One of the issues we have is just whether we're going to get into these races. These races are really tough. I had a lot of interest from trainers who wanted to bring horses here, but we just knew they weren't going to make the cut because it's these fields fill, and for the prize money, I'm not surprised. It's a great place to race. What I am hoping is to keep increasing the quality. We want to get these races, the grades up on these races. So it's bringing European horses here. It's really about trying to improve the level of the races we're bringing. It's all about quality over quantity.
That seems to be the case down here at Kentucky Downs. Well, Adrian, thank you so much for spending time with us here on BloodHorse Monday. Congratulations on the 8 runners that you have. And hey, I'm holding you to the dozen next year.
That's great. If I'm here this year with a dozen horses, I look forward to doing another interview.
We'll do another interview. That's exactly
Thanks,
right. Well, thank you, Adrian. And back to the studio. Well, there we go. A little Adrian Beaumont with me on a Thursday. 708 people walked behind me during that interview, including Jenny Reese. Shout out. There you go. I'm never mad with Jenny. Can be whatever.
Jenny can do whatever she wants.
There you go. I think a couple takeaways from there for sure. The difficulty of getting into races at Kentucky Downs is an interesting comment, is it not? Like, hey, we'd love to ship over. $2 million sounds nice, but if there's no guarantees, very difficult to do. I also wanted to bring that up because I think people don't know the quarantine thing. Like, you and I are used to it because of the Japanese horses at the Derby and that kind of thing. But if you're not used to the fact that fly into Cincinnati, go to Churchill for quarantine after that, then come down to Kentucky Downs, horses having to stay at Keeneland and do those kinds of things. Now, that's not unusual, right? To ship to a track for a day of racing, but to have to go through quarantine to travel that kind of way internationally, I think we just take for granted that these horses just show up. Like Fierceness was in a box to go race in the Pacific Classic.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's right. And so like, we kind of forget that, there's to move a horse.
It takes a lot.
It takes a lot. There's a lot of things that go involved. What stood out to you?
Well, I think it was just interesting hearing him talk about, I know obviously they've already run these races, so we know what the results were on these horses, but just as he explained each horse, just you could hear his thought process as to why this horse was selected, why this horse was targeted to come over here. And
it's some winners amongst his selections, by the way.
Exactly.
Wimbledon
Flatten the
Hawkeye,
Curve, Wimbledon Hawkeye, and several of the others didn't disgrace themselves either with the way they ran out here. Kadem, was that
Kadem?
Yeah, how they pronounced it?
Yep.
He
ran well.
Yeah, he ran well. 9 years old, running third in a turf sprint over here against some two very good horses in front of him.
Yep.
So it's one of those things, I got to talk a lot to Wimbledon Hawkeye's connections after the race, both directly after the race on Saturday and then Sunday morning at the barn. And, that we always talk about all the money that's available for the Kentucky breds, but the purse money they got for winning the Nashville Derby was it was only about $100,000 short of winning the Epsom Derby. Wow. And you're not facing, no offense to any of the horses that were in the Nashville Derby from the American standpoint, but you're not facing the same quality that you'd be facing in the Epsom Derby. Those are the best.
Burnham Square ain't winning the Epsom Derby.
Those are the best grass horse stayers in Europe, which meant everybody will say are the best in the world. Europe's the king of the grass. And so, you're looking at where you get to ship all over to run against potentially easier competition for the same purse money. That's a big draw. And it's something that the connections talked about quite a bit, was how important that was for them. The owner and the owners bred Wimbledon Hawkeye, and they're kind of a smaller operation out there in Europe. They've had a couple big horses over the years, but we're coming over here winning $1 million. That's a huge deal to them. He told me that pays the bills for us this year, just coming over and winning this one race. Yeah. And I'm sure there's travel expenses and stuff that'll take a little bit out of it.
The game isn't different for the British guys than it is for BBN racing. It's not like you need the checks, right? Yeah.
As we're looking at those purses continuing to get higher over the last couple of years, seeing more and more Europeans and potentially starting to see some of the top Europeans coming over for these races, I think is definitely in the near future. Especially, we talked to Ted Nicholson last week. One of the key focuses for them right now is increasing the grade.
Yes.
If you're starting to see these $2 million races being run as grade ones a couple years from now, we're going to be shipping over multiple planes of European horses. They're going to be coming over here to get that grade one, to get the purse money. It's just better than what they're running for in England, especially at this time of the year. Yes, there's a couple big races in England coming up. Yeah. But it's that purse money just kind of, this was something when Bellum Justum won last year. This was something that they had talked about with me as well, is, the purse money is just better than what the options are in England at this time of year. So, and a course where they could be successful, a course that they're used to style wise, you're going to see more and more of them.
There you go. Frankie Dettori with a bunch of success over the weekend as well. I saw him Thursday on opening day. He was picking at everyone's brain as much as he could about the turf condition.
It paid off.
It obviously did. But the other part is, with the irrigation, different things, I asked him about it, if it changed things for him. And he's like, compared to Europe, this is still very firm, right? Yeah. Like, this is still very firm go compared to what we're used to doing, especially in England, in those sorts of places. But I enjoyed the interview. I thought Adrian was great. I really appreciate him jumping on. Hopefully we'll catch up with him at Breeders' Cup as well. So there you go. Futurity debutante at Del Mar this weekend. Of course, Kentucky Downs, their last big couple of days will be this weekend as well. What are you most looking forward to? I'm not gonna lie, I think it's actually the Del Mar races for me.
Well, I'll be at Kentucky Downs again this weekend, so I'll definitely be having a larger focus on those. But I love me some 2-year-olds. I love to start thinking about the Triple Crown already. And we saw.
So I didn't want to do this, but do you know what's in 12 days?
The Iroquois,
the first Kentucky Derby. So if you are a human,
I'm ready.
So if you are, I don't know, dating Sean Collins, get it all in right now, because you got 12 days until he's unavailable for 8 months. I'm looking straight into the camera for this one. If you happen to be, I don't know, his mom, text him now, because he's unavailable starting, in September here. So,
this is when it gets fun.
Oh man, that's the good stuff for sure.
So I'll be watching that Del Mar Futurity with great interest, even though there's no points on the line, because those horses will be wheeling back most likely the American Pharaoh and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
I was gonna say they have plenty of chances.
Oh yes,
yeah. Well, shut up. Well, there you go.
We're getting to that time of year.
Getting to that time of year, man.
It's almost Derby. Could you believe it?
Could you stop? But no, it's interesting because, we had, I had Jason Beaumont on a show last year, and I asked him, when do you start really paying attention to Derby preps? And he essentially said, it's got to be worth 50 points. I think of when Del Mar closes and when Saratoga closes as when I really zoom in on the Breeders' Cup. Like right now, this time of year, we've got 2 months. Now I'm like, okay, who's coming from Germany? Who's coming from, who are the Irish horses that are going to make the trip? Who's the 2-year-old on the filly side that's this year's Lake Victoria? Like, who's that horse that's going to be coming over invading Del Mar that way? And so this is when I start to really dig in on it. And frankly, I think it's partly because Kentucky Downs makes me think about those horses. Like, is a Wimbledon Hawkeye going to make the trip to California? Because he should. Yeah, he should. Like, that horse has got a shot for sure, especially at 1.5 miles, especially going flat. I think he's got a real shot. So just try to start to, sort those things out. Is Forever Young going to make his trip over, like Larry mentioned earlier in the episode as well? I think those are interesting questions, but there you go.
Meanwhile,
and you're thinking about the Derby.
Well, yeah, because I mean, we got the hopeful coming up in like a half hour here. So yeah,
well, hopeful
it's Derby time.
Thank you.
That's the important. The Breeders' Cup Friday is just Derby prep, Kentucky Derby prep. For me at least.
Well, if you want to find Sean, he's sleeping in a tent on the backside of Churchill Downs. That's where you can find Sean. He's ready to go ahead of that Iroquois Stakes.
That would really help me out.
Who you got? The Iroquois. Sean. That'll probably be drawn by the time we get back to this show next week. But there you go. We will summarize the end of that Del Mar meet with you, and of course go over the winners at Kentucky Downs next week. Thanks to Larry Collmus, Adrian Beaumont for joining us on this edition of the show. Of course, we encourage you to check out the magazine, bloodhorse.com. Go check them out. The magazine tab at the top of the homepage, or if you happen to be watching on YouTube or Spotify, there's a QR code at the bottom of the screen. You can go ahead, pause the episode right now, grab that QR code, and check out the magazine shipped to your house every month with those beautiful photos from around the country. All the great photos, the great people, the great horses that make our sport go at Blood Horse Magazine. Of course, bloodhorse.com. Check out the tab for daily at the top. If you're not getting the daily email every morning from Blood Horse, you are missing out. Start your day with Blood Horse. Start your day with all the headlines in our great sport. Certainly the best way to start your day is with Blood Horse Daily. Well, for Sean, I'm Louie. We'll be back in a week. A couple more days of Kentucky Downs for you and me.
Yep.
And then we're going to be talking about Churchill Downs.
I can't believe we're already back to that. This year's flying.
Well, you can apparently because it's Derby time.
Oh, that's true.
No idea.
I didn't say I was upset about us.
We'll see you next week. The Blood Horse is dedicated to the improvement of thoroughbred breeding and racing for over 100 years. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and save Blood Horse Monday on all your platforms. For the latest news, analysis, and insights, visit us at bloodhorse.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.